interesting with what you say right there. Is you're like, oh man, people just want to watch. You know, they don't want to. They don't want to think. And what I think is so intriguing about that, I guess, is that like, I feel like I can't help but think when I like watch
Hmm.
like a show that's like that heavy. You know. By the way, hey everybody, welcome back to Too Many Balls. This is the Epic Gamer series where I and uh,
Small's noodle.
too many noodles.
Too
Too
many
many. We're me
noodles.
and too many noodles talk about too many things while I play a game that has balls in it. Right now I'm playing Marble Mayhem Fragile Marble or some crap, and well, as you can see, that was a fragile marble. It fucking bled out all over the
I
goddamn floor.
I cannot see, but I'm sure the viewers can.
I hate this game. Um,
Back
sometimes the ball becomes a super ball. Okay.
back
Yeah.
on track.
So you were talking about So gosh, I mean, because I feel like themes and symbols and conflicts in shows are so like unignorable. You know, like, and one of the things that catches my attention a lot in shows and in stories is like allegory, right? And
Hmm.
I like sink my teeth into allegories. Like if I watch like fuck my ass. If I watch like a series and there's like a character on there who's like really religious and they're like portrayed to be this psycho, uh, I'm kind of thinking like, oh man, I guess the creator of this show doesn't like religious people, or like, you know, had a bad run-in with them or something, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, like, yeah, um, yes, siree. Oh, codedness too is also right, like allegory. Is a form of allegory, is like codedness. I've been playing with codedness for a while in my writing. Um,
Um.
as you know.
Yes, I do. No, I mean there are like instances where like I've been recently watching like some shows just so like as background, like to laugh and make fun of and like not really pay attention. But that's when I'm in the mood to like play a game or have like background noise or like write, and I'll just like have that in the background and I don't care about the plot. But like when you I don't know, all of the shows I've ever watched have like good character writing, like either at first or like throughout their run. Um, and it's very interesting, especially like I rewatched iZombie recently, and as I love like the character Liv Moore, there is a season where like I don't agree with all of her decisions, and she becomes very defensive and very standoffish. But it's very interesting to like
Yeah,
add up
that's
her
Liv Moore is an
her
interest.
oh, you
Liv
go.
Moore is an interesting character in iZombie because like she's like kind of this Mary Sue, and it's so weird because I feel like that. When did that show come out? Because I feel like
It came
it's
out in
obviously
2015.
that's so weird because it feels like it came out like sooner because it seems so obviously like pandering to like emo
Well,
kids.
no, it's
Um,
not. It's no, no.
what? What I do?
No,
What I
it's
do?
not. No, it's not pandering. It's you get a character who had to completely, uproot her life because she becomes a zombie out of no free will of her own. She experiences this tragic thing, and then she can't tell anybody because, they would think she's obviously, you know, a little, whatever. And so you get her trying to do this.
Well, they would think she was crazy, or God forbid they believe her, and then they go like, "Oh, you're a zombie. Well, we have to kill you."
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's why there's certain parts in like the first season where like they're watching an old school noir like zombie film, and Clive shows up and he's like, "Oh God, zombies freak me out. I'd like kill them like it's the Wild Wild West," and Liv, a zombie, just is kind of like, uh.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, sorry, man. Sorry to hear that." Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or there's that episode where they a quote unquote like TV television star guy ends up dying after being shot.
I'm an avocado deep down inside my ass. Anyway, um, that is so fascinating that you said that Liv's whole thing is actually like a coping mechanism. Like the premise of the show is just this big coping thing.
Well, because if you think about it, the very beginning scene of a zombie is she is on her way to be a heart surgeon. Like that's
Can
the
you come
kid.
closer to the mic?
Oh, sorry. She is her whole
Get
thing
on
is.
it, baby.
Oh my God. Can you? Is it good now?
Yeah, it's good now. Yes.
Okay, so her whole thing is you see her you when we meet Liv, she is studying to be a thoracic or a cardiac surgeon.
Yeah.
Um and you see how good she is, you see like, she's very take charge. And then one of her coworkers is like, "Oh, well, there's this party that's going to be happening. You should come to it." And she's like, "No, I'm just gonna go home with my fiance."
Yeah, that's the
And
premise. Yeah.
yeah, and Major's like, "You know what? No, you go. We're gonna be married for the rest of our lives. We have plenty of time." And so she takes him up on it. And what then ends up happening, obviously, is a zombie outbreak. She becomes a zombie, and the show officially starts from that point. Um, but yeah, she like when at first she completely disrupts her life. Like she breaks things off with Major.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes a morgue assistant. She completely like just and her family doesn't understand it, and her friends don't understand it, and obviously Major doesn't understand it because he's like, one minute we're getting married, and now we're not, and so like he's confused, and everyone thinks that oh, this is just PTSD. You need to come back, like you'll be fine, and so she eats these brains, but she ends up getting these brains, and she does it is a coping mechanism because she's like, oh, I'm useful again, I can
Yeah.
help people again.
But it's so interesting because I mean you don't think about the coping to that really, um, because it's not really presented in any. Well, let me ask. Because the show comes off to me a lot like some sort of like really edgy NCIS. Really fucking punk rock NCIS. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, we're zombies. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I know NCIS already has whatever the fuck is going on there. It's like the 40-year-old woman
um,
dressed up as like an 18-year-old punk girl. But oh my god, I keep smashing. Oh god. Um, uh, where do you think the show potentially like kind of telegraphs or gives the message somehow that Liv is coping? That the premise is a
um
huge part of Liv's coping.
well, there's different episodes, so I can't like pinpoint you directly because it does get brought up like in season 1, in season 2, and in season like it comes up a lot. But two particular big examples is obviously when you know she
But does it come up like briefly?
no, it does get talked about. It's one of the things that so they do date a second time in season 2. Um and they end up breaking
Fuck
up.
happened there? Oh my god. Anyway, yeah.
So they do break up again in season 2. They do get back together like season 5, um, and permanently stay together. But in season 2, they break up because so Major goes to Ravi and he's like, because there's a potential cure for zombieism, and you
It's an
know,
ideology.
well, no, it's a legit cure because
No,
Ravi.
I'm kidding. Oh my god. Wow.
Well,
I'll have to find a new guest. Let's see.
oh my god. So Ravi, is excited to get the cure out. And Major's worried because, he's like, hasn't lived, built her identity on, her crime fighting. Like, does she not think that she's only like helping and only useful if she like solves murders as a zombie? Um, and Ravi kind of, they, because what happened in order to create like the
This
zombie,
level was stupidly easy.
in order to create like the whole zombie thing, it was a mixture of a drink from Max Rager and like some laced up opium, I think, if I
Mm.
remember the drug correctly, and that kind of did this like zombie cocktail. And so like there's this one on, oh my god, what was I talking about? There,
Max
oh, okay.
Rager.
Yeah, so they
And hormones made from
one of
flour.
the reporters had like in her journal MR Washington, MR Berserk, and it's like different events that happened where people went like they went like they just were so out of character and they were belligerent and they were basically berserker. And you know, you find out, Liv talks about, she was like, I woke up and I identified as a doctor, and one of the Emmys was so embarrassed, and so he didn't check my vitals. And he had like bagged up a living person, and she was like, I was so scared, I was so confused. I ended up eating like a person whose head was already open and giving some frontal lobe. Um,
Mmm.
and
Yummy.
she talks about this because she ends up finding out that her current boyfriend didn't know that the brains he was eating because one of the other characters turned him into a zombie, for favors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she ended up finding out that that boyfriend is eating like some brains of like runaway teenagers because she gets a vision when she's going down the elevator and she ends up breaking up with him.
Oh, was that like that Lloyd guy or whatever?
Yes. But Ravi looks at her, and this is one of the instances where characters do check her behavior because he was like, you were able to have medical training and then go into a morgue and get brains. Because he asked her, he's like, what was the first thing you thought of, like, when you woke up? And she was like, brains. And I went onto that shore, and I got that frontal lobe. And he's like, okay, well, think about it. If you did not have the access that you have right now, how would you get your brains? And she comes off very black and white, very judgmental, doesn't understand. But Ravi's like, Liv, you were in a privileged position. He was not. He didn't know. How could he have
Yeah.
known? And
Robbie's
so,
the voice of reason in the show.
yeah, but like, he brings that,